Hi and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to run you through all the settings on the Rode Wireless Go 2, so you won't have any questions on how to use it, and that way you can take advantage of all the features on this device. So without further ado, let's go straight into the video. So before we start, I do want to say that setting up this device is quite easy. It's not one of those devices that you need to learn hours and hours and read through the manual forever. Actually, you can pick this up and use it straight away. The only thing you need to pay attention to is the output levels on the receiver. You need to make sure they're not too hot and they're not clipping in your recording device, whether it's a camera, a phone, or a computer. That's pretty much it. But in this video, we're going to go through all the settings, even the advanced ones, so you know everything about this device and how it works. Okay, so before we go into the app and access the more advanced features, let's go through all the settings you can change straight on the receiver and the transmitter. So we're going to start with the transmitter. The transmitter has one power button. Long press the power button will obviously turn it on or off. Short press as standard will mute or unmute the transmitter. That of course can be changed in the app to add in markers, or can be disabled altogether so you won't have any function. Over here we have some things. I'm going to explain these as well. We have a bar for the battery and a bar for the signal. We have a omnidirectional condenser microphone, a TRS 3.5mm input, and this is useful if you want to use the Rode Lavalier Go. At the moment you plug this in, it will override this microphone, so this will be cancelled. And the moment you pull it out, it will switch back to this one. Okay, these two bars, like I said, one of them represents the battery and the other one represents the connection. This will start to blink when the battery is running low, and it will start to blink even faster when the battery is very low. And this will blink when the connection is poor or there is no connection with the receiver. And that's pretty much all the settings you can change from the transmitter itself. Now we're going to move on to the receiver. Okay, the receiver can do a few more things than the transmitter. Again, it has the same power button, and obviously it will turn the device on or off if you long press. Short press as standard is set to turn on power saving mode, and this is represented by a small little icon. It's a sun icon here in the center, as you can see next to the battery icon. Pressing it once will turn the power saving mode on, and pressing it twice will disable it. So in normal mode, the backlight will always stay on, but if I put it in power saving mode, it will turn off after 10 seconds of inactivity. So I'm just going to leave it on, go back to leave it on. Again, this can be changed in the app to add in markers, but cannot be disabled like it can on the transmitter. Okay, and over here at the front, and I'm saying front because this is how you would normally mounted on the camera. So this would be what you're looking at always. This would be your front. Speaking of mounting onto the camera, this clip is exactly the same size as a cold shoe. So it fits perfectly in the shoe holder of the camera. It also has a USB Type-C socket and 3.5mm output socket. USB Type-C socket for outputting to devices like mobile phones, tablets, and even to the computer. And this is what you would use for cameras, the 3.5. Okay, so these two buttons can do several things on their own, or they can do other things together. So on their own, the left side will adjust the output gain of the receiver. As you can see, there's an icon over here in the middle, which is similar to a volume icon. So it has three settings: setting number 1, setting number 2, and setting number 3. This will basically reduce the output of your receiver by increments of 10 dB. So it will go to, I believe, -30, -20, and -10 dB. But again, this can be changed in the app to smaller increments of -3 dB for better and finer adjustment. Okay, if we press the one on the right, it will select either transmitter number 1 if I press it once, transmitter number 2 if I press it twice, and it will deselect them both if I press it 3 times. Okay, if I select transmitter number 1 and then I press the button on the left, this one, it will mute, so I want it unmuted. And if I go to this one, again, it will mute it or unmute it. If I switch back to transmitter number 1 and I long press the button on the left, it will turn on pad function. So as you can see now, it's on, pad function is on, and that is symbolized by a small blue arrow pointing down, as you can see. And if I select it again and I long press, it will turn it off. So what pad function does, it reduces the sensitivity of the microphone on the transmitter, and that is useful if you want to use this microphone as a handheld microphone for interviews. There's an accessory from Rode called Rode Interview Go, and the reason you want to use this feature, the pad feature, is because it reduces the sensitivity of this microphone. You'll go a lot closer with a microphone to people's mouth than you would if you just use it as a lavalier. The next thing you can do on this device, if you press these two buttons together, the left and the right, it will switch from merge to split mode. So now I'm in split mode. If I press it again, it will go into merged mode. And merged mode, basically what it does, it combines both channels into one channel. And this is useful if you're using only one transmitter and you want to enable safety channel. So basically what safety channel does, it sums up the channels into one and then duplicates that channel and reduces the gain by minus 20 dB. So one of the channels will be 20 dB lower always, and that is useful because if you're in a situation where things get out of hand, your audio will clip and distort, you cannot repair that. So having a safety channel is very useful. Although this turns merged mode on, it does not enable safety channel. Safety channel must be enabled from the app. So the last thing you can do from the receiver without going to the app is pairing the receiver with the transmitter. So like I said, these two transmitters normally come paired, so you don't have to do that. But in case you want to use a different transmitter, by the way, these are not compatible with the first generation. The way you pair it, you turn on your receiver and then you turn the transmitters one by one if you have more than one to pair, and you would press this button for 3 seconds, the one on the right, which shows a link. So this will enable pairing mode. So you press it for 3 seconds, and after pairing mode is enabled, this will have to be turned on as well. And after you turn it on, just click the power button once. So these two will pair in a few seconds. You just have to wait a few seconds and they will be paired. And you repeat the process for the second one. And that's everything you can do from the devices. Now let's move to the app. Okay, before we move to the app, make sure you're using the USB cable provided by Rode. And then you connect this to the computer, and then you connect this to the port on the receiver or the transmitter. Now we're going to start with the transmitters, and I'm going to explain all the settings on the transmitters. Okay, so we are in the Rode Central app right now. So if we go to this cog over here, it will take us to the settings. So here we have several settings. We have the changing the power button function on the transmitter. So this can be changed to having no function. It can be changed to marker, or it can be changed to mute. A standard is set to mute, but you can change it to whatever you want. And then we go to the dim function, and the dim function will amend the brightness of these two LED indicators. But I would leave it bright because that way you can notice it better, but that's my preference. You guys can change it to whatever you want. The next setting is the pad function setting, which you can change from the receiver as well, like I showed you earlier. And the last setting is the onboard recording for the transmitter. And I think this is very important. So if you enable this, it will always record audio onto the transmitter from the moment you turn the transmitter on to the moment you turn the transmitter off, regardless whether it's connected to the receiver or not. And that's very important because if you have any dropouts, if you have any interference, or for example, if you set the receiver wrong and it will mess up the audio in your camera. For example, you haven't turned the audio level in your camera down and preamps of the camera will introduce noise to the audio. Or for example, your input gain is too hot on the receiver and it will clip inside your camera, then the audio is messed and you cannot fix it. And this will save you. You can replace it with this in post-production, and this is a lifesaver, I'm telling you. This is probably one of the best function Rode has implemented to this new microphone. By the way, if you have it on always mode, you can only have it in 24-bit 48 kilohertz sample rate. That's the quality you can have it set at. You cannot change it to compressed. But if you change it to backup, then you can change the quality as well. So you can have it compressed or uncompressed. In always mode, it's only uncompressed. So I think that's good. I would actually be more upset if it was the other way around, if it was compressed, you know, but I would rather have it uncompressed because I like my audio to be good, you know what I mean? The difference between backup and always on: backup will only record the moment it will connect to the receiver. So the moment you have dropouts, the transmitter will stop recording onto itself on board. It will not record anymore. So for example, if I turn this off accidentally, or the power dies on this, or for example, I'm too far from my talent and these two will disconnect, they will not communicate together anymore, then the transmitter will not record on board anymore. And in my opinion, that kind of defeats the purpose of having this function to begin with. You know, why would you have it if the moment it disconnects, you have dropouts, it will not record anymore? Doesn't make any sense. So I keep it always on, and I think that's what you should guys do as well. That's my recommendation. But again, it's up to each and every one of you guys to do. It's your device, you use it the way you want. So that's everything on the transmitter. Now we're going to move on to the receiver. So the first settings we see over here is the backlight, and the backlight can be turned on or off. It can be turned in power saving mode or normal mode from the receiver as well, provided you haven't changed the power function button to marker. If you change it to marker, then you won't be able to amend that on the receiver. You can only change it here in the app. But if you leave it like this, now the gain mode, it is standardly set to coarse. That means you can change your gain on the receiver in increments of 10 dB. But if you change it to fine, then you will be able to change your gain by increments of 3 dB. And I recommend that you do that, because this way you can fine tune your audio so it doesn't clip and distort in the device you're recording. Here we can amend the gain, which you can do in the app as well. The only thing you cannot do in the app is changing from coarse to fine, and the safety channel feature. And I can have it off or on. So for example, if I'm in split mode, you cannot use this feature. You can only use it in merged, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will always be on if I'm in merge mode. It has to be turned on in the app. Okay, so I'll keep it on. So in the case I'm in merge mode, this will turn on automatically. So for example, look, if I switch to split, it will be off. If I switch back to merge, it will go on. So I'll leave it on. And this is the power button function, and I will leave it the backlight. I don't want to change it to marker. And that's all the settings in the receiver as well. So now if you want to set your wireless Go microphone to work with a camera, first thing we need to do, we go into the menu. We're going to go to audio record level. We go into the menu 2, which is the second camera symbol over here, and sub menu 2. And over here we have the audio record level. If this is grayed out, it's probably because your camera is in another mode than movie. It needs to be in movie mode for this to be enabled. Otherwise it will be grayed out. For example, if I turn to another mode now and I go back to the menu, as you can see, audio record level is grayed out, so I don't have access to it. Cannot change it. So it's important that you put it into movie mode. So I'm going to go into movie mode, go back to the menu, and then I go to audio record level. And it's very important that you set this to 1. If you have it any higher, the preamps of your camera will process the audio coming inside the camera, and it's going to introduce noise to it, because the preamps on DSLR, mirrorless cameras, whatever cameras, unless they're professional cameras, usually are not very good. They're cheap and they will introduce noise to your audio. So you want this to be on the lowest level possible, so that way it will introduce the least amount of processing to audio. Do not turn it to 0. If you turn it to 0, your audio will be disabled. So you need to make sure it's 1. After this is done, you need to go back into the menu, and you need to make sure audio recording is enabled and audio level display is on. That's all done. And the next thing we're going to do is going to take the receiver and put it on the shoe of the camera. And the next thing we need to do is locate the microphone input on the camera, and on the Sony a7 III is over here. It's a red input and it has a microphone symbol next to it. So I'm going to plug this in here, and I'm going to plug it in the output of the receiver. Okay, now the last thing we need to do, go back to audio record level. Now we can see the level. So when we speak, we take the whichever microphone we're going to be using with the receiver. We're going to place that next to our mouth. So when we speak, this level will show over here. So you need to make sure your levels are going, when you're loud, you're the most loud, somewhere around -12, -6 highest. You don't want to go above -6, because that way you have some protection, you know. Like I said, I have to always on recording on the transmitters, because that way I'm protected. But it's best to keep it somewhere around -12, -6 dB. So if this is going too high, for example, right now it's going too high, I'm actually I'm holding the microphone very close to my mouth, so probably that's one of the reasons why it's going very high. Then what you need to do, you go to the receiver over here at the top, and we reduce the gain. So we go to let's say -18, sorry, and let's see how that goes. Let's see how that looks. So now, oops, go back to the menu. Okay, so now I'm at -18, sorry, on the receiver, and this looks all right. This looks all right, but like I said, I have my microphone very close to my mouth. I wouldn't normally keep it this close. Let me move it a little bit lower, how I would normally keep it. Check, 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 check. Maybe a little bit higher. -12. Okay, let's go into the menu again. Check, 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 check. Okay, so that looks perfect to me. As you can see, it goes, it doesn't go any higher than -6. So it's somewhere between -6 and -12, and that looks perfect to me. So that's how I would normally set it for my camera. And again, if you want to have this in split mode, you can change it to split mode. So that is pretty much all the settings you need for this microphone, and that's how you use it on a camera. Thanks for watching. I do hope you guys found this video useful. Don't forget to leave a like, because it helps the channel. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, you can subscribe so you won't be missing any of my future videos. Also, if you have any thoughts or suggestions, leave them down in the comments, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. I'll see you next time. Take care now.